What's up everybody, it's Kate and thank you for joining me on my channel today and welcome to my new adventure. Anyway, so this is my fourth YouTube video here on my channel and today I will be talking to you guys about buying your first house. Woo! No, I have not been drinking. It is 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I know that sometimes that's late for a cocktail, but today it's just coffee. So we are going to talk about buying your first house. Who's excited? Me. So I decided that this is going to be a series. I'm going to do 3 basic things that everyone should know before they even remotely look at a house. And then the next video will be when you go into a house, what you should be looking for, what you should not do. Definitely that. And then the next part will be money. What kind of money you need to bring to this table in order for you to be successful and buy that house that you love. So here's the first thing that you need to learn and remember. When you look at your finances, what are the bills that you have to pay for every month and what are you responsible for? For me, student loan, car payment, cell phone bill, credit card debt, unfortunately. Mom's a shopper, we know that. So there's a couple things and that's a couple $100, and with your paycheck being, let's say $1,000 every 2 weeks, which is low, that includes, you know, my company taking out my benefits for my whole family, so that's $400. And we get good benefits, so I'm not going to be upset about that. But, so with $1,000 to play with, and I have, a cell phone bill from my husband and I have credit card debt, credit card payments. I also have expenses that, like grocery store expenses, buying clothes or shoes or an emergency doctor visit or emergency vet visit. I mean, there's things that you need to have a cushion for. And so when you sit down and you start thinking, I really want to buy a house, these are the things that you need to think of. After you do all that, then you have to Google. And I Googled, but I also asked people who own houses. And it's best to ask people, hey, if you don't mind, can we talk about your expenses? Not what you make every week, or like every week or whatever, but what do you have to pay for? What are the things, like when you go in, I don't think that you understand when you turn that lock, when you turn that key in that door, what is in that house? Zero. Zilch. Nothing. Unless they wanted to leave something for you. Piece of furniture, a mouse family. I mean, really, the list could go on and on. So you have to really think about what you want to do in terms of like money and how you want to save. So you have to sit down and be totally truthful and honest with whoever you're buying this house with. If it's just yourself, have somebody there who's like a mirror who will just kind of like play devil's advocate for you. And my husband and I did that for each other, and we were able to really understand what kind of mortgage payment we'd be able to pay every month. And from there, we were able to look at houses. So that would be my first piece of advice. Remember all your debt and remember that those things don't go away, and just like the one thing that you have to pay for, the mortgage that everyone realizes is not the only thing that you have to pay for. So there's water bills, there's electric bills, there's home repairs, there's a phone bill, there's a cable bill, there's furniture. Anyway, so think of those things. And I'll make a full list of expenses when I do my blog post on this. If you have not visited my website, it is katemcgate.com. It is linked below. So number 2 of the things that you want to make sure of. Find a mortgage company that you trust. Not just go to your bank where you have your checking account unless you really like them, but also think about if you need to consolidate your loans. If you've ever gone to like a federal savings bank, those babies have great interest rates. Sometimes you want to ask if they have a first-time home buyer's saving interest rate. Honestly, it's like the lowest interest rate that you can go right now. My husband and I have a great interest rate, and that is why I am kicking and screaming if we ever have to move. Anywho, so you want to shop around for that. Sometimes you want to ask your realtor will refer you to somebody, and you want to be honest with yourself. If you don't feel comfortable where your realtor sent you, just be like, hey, is this the best deal you can do? Do you think that there's somebody else that you can refer us to? I don't really think that that's the best, that there is. And shop around. Know your options. So that's the second thing that I would really definitely recommend. Knowing your options, knowing where you stand monetarily, and knowing what the banks will give you. Subcategory for that, just, is whatever. Decide if you're going to go conventional or FHA loan. An FHA loan is a government loan. The one thing that kind of steered me away from that and motivated me to maybe put a little bit more on the down payment of the house was one thing that my father-in-law said, and it was just like this one little zip, and I was like, oh, I get it. So we looked at this house, and I'm going to go off on a tangent right now, but you're going to deal. So we looked at this house, and I loved it, and I loved everything about it. And my father-in-law said, okay, since this is an FHA loan, we're going to have to do an inspection with the government. Somebody's going to come in, an inspector's going to come in, and he's going to assess the property. And I was like, okay, got you. And he's like, no. He's like, you're not going to understand. He's like, you won't understand this. And there were problems with this house, wiring problems with this house. And he said, I don't think you understand. You're going to go into this house with this guy. This guy is going to break apart a wall. He's going to look at something. He's going to figure out what the wiring situation is. And he's going to realize it is a knob and tube wiring, which is not the best wiring. It was wiring done a while ago. That's how they used to wire houses. Now it's like a super big fire hazard. Didn't know that. Anyway. So he says as soon as he learns that, he's going to deny your loan. And I was like, they can't do that. I want to buy this house. And he goes, yeah, but you're getting the money from them. And that inspector says no. I'm like, oh, well, okay then. And then I was like, well, crap. Like, is that the only option? Like, does that happen all the time? He's like, not with conventional loans. And I was like, put me on that sign-up sheet. Anyway, so number 2 of that, if we can reiterate, number 1 was be honest with your finances, be honest with your debts that you owe. Number 2 would be find a mortgage company, shop around, know your options, know the kind of loan that you want to take out. Number 3, and the most important thing so that you make your experience as enjoyable as possible, is look for a realtor who respects your wishes, not a realtor who's looking for a paycheck. And unfortunately, yes, it is their job, and I get that. But at the end of the day, do you really want to be pushed around by some girl or woman or man who walks into a house, says, I know that this is $50,000 over your max budget, but look at that view and look at that backyard. I'm sorry, honey, but unless the backyard is going to pay for itself, unless that view is going to give you $50,000 extra dollars, don't listen to that, okay? You need a realtor who actually understands where you're coming from. And you need a realtor who really respects you and really understands your wishes and what you want from this. And if you want the wish of, I don't want to be house poor, your realtor should respect that and understand that. And it's their job as your realtor, and as like they have you as a client, it's their job to find you a house. So luckily we had I had my father-in-law as our realtor, and he did have a personal vested interest, but when push came to shove, and we wanted to go in and make an offer of this, or we wanted to do this, he let us do that. He never got the personal that he's my husband's father. Like, he never got any of that kind of in his way. And that was really admirable. And I think that that was like definitely a really respectable thing. And he always, when we would have talks, he always said, as your realtor, do you really think that this is the best choice for you? And I remember the one time with that same house, he said to me, he's like, listen, I'm going to talk to you as, your father, your future father-in-law. This house is not for you. And he's like, but if you want to make an offer, let's do this. And I think that having that be our first purchase, it was definitely a great experience. Something that you really want to make sure of is that when the bank and the mortgage broker gives you a number, oh, you have $275,000 to play with, don't take all that money and make that your top offer on the first house that you see and that you want. Walk away. Walk away. Don't max out your budget, because you can take your calculator and you can think, I'm going to do it right now. You can think to yourself, okay, well, let's do the math. At $275,000, if I divide that into monthly payments, if I divide that into 30 years, $9,166 a year. Oh, that's pretty good. So you divide that into 12 months. Monthly payment of $763 a year. Wrong. Guess what, homie? That's not what you're paying for in your mortgage payment. You also have to pay for your residential taxes, your property taxes. So that adds on a couple $100, and push comes to shove, you're at $1,500, $1,600 for your mortgage payment. Can you pay that? So, piece of advice for that, definitely ask for a mock-up payment statement from your realtor. They can do that. Have them mock up 1 or 2 of those for you when you look at houses. That way you really know what you're getting yourself into. So, to reiterate, the 3 main things that you want to do before you go into buying a house, they would be honest about your finances, find a mortgage broker, shop around, look at what kind of loan you want to get, and find a realtor who respects your wishes, and find a realtor who respects you as the buyer and the client. Anyway, so that's all I have for today. Join me next time and I will go into the finances of when you are shopping for a house, the inspection fees, as well as what not to do when you go through a walkthrough of a house and you go on a house tour. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Click that subscribe button and I'll see you next time. Bye.